So just first of all, a trigger warning for this video. I'm going to be talking about self-harm and suicide in this video, so if you are offended or triggered by those types of things, then I suggest you don't watch this video because it's going to be quite in depth about my experiences with BPD, which includes a lot of self-harm, suicidal thoughts, etc. So if you can't handle that, then just don't watch this video. So I wanted to make this video because I have never really talked about my experiences in depth with BPD, and hopefully people that are watching this video, maybe they're watching it because they know somebody that has BPD, for example, and they want to know what it's actually like, or of course you just want to see more in depth into my experiences with it, because obviously I'm going to be talking about my own experiences with BPD in this video and how it affects me. I am not like every other person in the world with BPD, but obviously it's very similar. Everybody that has the personality disorder is going to be very similar because we all display the same traits. So hopefully you might learn something from this video. Hopefully you will. Maybe you have BPD yourself and you're watching this, or if you do know somebody with BPD, you will understand them better because I'm going to explain everything in depth in this video. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's probably going to be like a half-an-hour long video, but I'm just going to get into it now. So I have struggled for a long time with borderline personality disorder, and it has had an extreme impact on my life. Like almost not a day goes by that I don't experience some sort of hardship due to this disorder. I've talked about it on my channel obviously a little bit, like in some of my past videos, but obviously I've never gone in depth about it and how it actually really affects my life and my relationships as a whole. I also have some footage in this video of times where I'm going through like really bad episodes of it, including me dissociating, and a goodbye video when I was suicidal. Most of the footage is very recent. You will see, obviously, that one of the videos is only from a few days ago. But first, I'm actually going to explain to you what BPD is and what the disorder entails, and then afterwards I will show you some of the footage that I have recorded. So, first of all, it's obviously a personality disorder, as you know from the title. But what actually is a personality disorder? Because I didn't actually know the official definition of a personality disorder. I never really thought about what actually is a personality disorder, because I'm like, is this a disease? Is it an illness? What is it? But basically, a personality disorder is a deeply ingrained pattern of behaviour of a specified kind that deviates markedly from the norms of generally accepted behaviour. Typically apparent by the time of adolescence and causing long-term difficulties in personal relationships or functioning in society. That is the official Google definition of a personality disorder. There you go. So BPD itself, what does that entail? Because there are a few different personality disorders you can have, but this one is known as borderline, but it can also be known as emotional instability personality disorder, because that's kind of its whole thing. Its whole thing is you're extremely volatile and unstable as a person with BPD. So the number one thing that people actually tend to think about a lot with BPD is the intense fear of abandonment, the serious abandonment issues. So people with BPD are absolutely paralyzed by the fear of abandonment. If they even slightly feel like there is like a small amount of danger that this person is gonna leave them, it will send them into overdrive and they will do anything in their power to stop this happening. Myself, I just cannot cope with it. Even thinking that the possibility they might walk away, even when people like aren't even thinking of walking away from you, leaving you, abandoning you, your mind tends to create this sort of narrative that, oh, they're gonna leave me because I'm like this and because I'm like that, and you obviously see that theme in my videos. But this is one of the biggest parts of BPD, is the fact that once you are abandoned by somebody, it makes you feel completely powerless, out of control. It's the loss of control, and it's the worst thing ever. Like, there just isn't anything worse than that to somebody with BPD. Intense emotions. This is obviously another massive, massive part of it. And I have experienced intense emotions for an extremely long time. Like, I only first, recognized what BPD was maybe a few years ago now. I never understood why I was acting the way I was acting until I came and looked at it. So these are things like anxiety, depression, anger. Those are basically the top three. And these can last from a few hours to a few days. And it can be rapid sort of mood swings. Like, from 1 minute, you could go from being really sad to suddenly just really angry for not really any reason at all. It's just the mood swings. They keep changing. They keep swinging back and forth. And I could be having a mental breakdown, extremely anxious, freaking the fuck out. In fact, earlier today, I experienced exactly that. I had extreme anxiety. I could hardly breathe. It felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My heart was beating. I was sweating profusely. I was shaking. And then 20 minutes later, I'm fine. I'm just back to a normal sort of neutral standpoint. So you can even just go from that to obviously just being neutral, or to being numb, not feeling anything at all. So these emotions are so extreme, they cannot be ignored. They will cause you the physical symptoms, because if you experience anxiety and depression, these all just come as a part of this. You will just feel extreme depression, or you'll feel extreme anxiety, but then a few hours later, as I said, you could just be absolutely fine, just that never happened. Who was she? Who was that? Next is no sense of self. So you'll notice that people with BPD frequently do things like change their hair colour, because we are just never happy with who we are or the way that we look. We don't really have our own solidified personality. So it normally comes with a very low self-esteem, low self-image, just being unsure of who they really are. So frequently, obviously, changing appearances. That's something I've done. If you've known me for a long time over the years that I've been on YouTube, just look at all of my different hair and appearance changes and style changes. I'm just completely all over the place. It can also change depending on who they are with, who they are surrounded by, and they can pick up parts of other people's personalities and sort of insert them into their own. So I notice I do this a lot when I'm around certain people. I match and I mold with what they are and their personalities, and I take on their sense of humor, and I try to say things that I think they will find funny because it's part of them and who they are, but then not really knowing within myself oh wait, is that really me? And trying to get into things that I know those people every time I make new friends and stuff. That's the way I try to fit in. I try to blend in. I'm just oh yeah, I like this too. And just picking up on certain phrases people use and things like that, and just inserting them into my own vocabulary. So you just pick up and steal things from other people's personalities, basically. It sounds a bit silly, but that's just how it works, because we're just I never really know how I want to look, and I'll see somebody else and I'll be I want to look like that. That's how I want to be. I want to look like that. So then I try to recreate that myself. Next is unstable relationships. So due to the nature of BPD and the fact that you have very extreme emotions and abandonment issues, this can cause problems in a relationship 100%. You just know that, relationships are already hard as it is. But when you mix in these extremes, some people just can't handle them and want to go running for the hills. It can just cause a lot of problems, make it unstable, because your partner might struggle to cope with it, and it just puts a lot of pressure on that person, because with the fear of abandonment, that comes with you have this possibility of emotional manipulation, which, that's not really listed as one of the symptoms of it, but this can be a part of it. So you can say emotionally manipulative things, such as if you leave me, I'm gonna kill myself. And this is a phrase I've used, I don't know how many times, but in my past relationship, that's what I said, and I didn't see the massive problem with that, and how much pressure you put on a person is you can sometimes maybe even manipulate a person into staying with you, because they're like, oh shit, if I leave, they're going to kill themselves and I'm going to be responsible for it, and I'm not going to be able to forgive myself for it. So even though they might not want to stay in the relationship, they feel trapped because they think, what is this person going to do if I leave them? So that is what causes a relationship to be so unstable. And also the fact of splitting. Splitting is basically going between hating a person, loving them, idolizing them. This is one of the other traits of it. It wasn't listed on this website because I wrote down some notes here from Mind. Mind is a pretty good website. But Mind didn't mention splitting. But splitting is obviously you either demonize or you idolize. So with your partner, you will go from thinking they're the most perfect, greatest thing in the world, and then a few minutes later, you might fucking hate them and think they're a piece of shit and like they are terrible, they are the worst. And this can also cause really bad problems in a relationship, because that person will feel attacked by you, and they will be like beaten down by your words, and it's very negative and it causes arguments. So this also causes it to be so unstable, because they're like, you know, does this person love me or not, or do they hate me? So it can be very, very difficult. And something else I just want to mention is an FP. You might be wondering, you might have seen this somewhere saying, oh, this person is my FP. So FP just stands for favorite person, and your favorite person is the absolute light of your life, your entire world. As a person with BPD, your favorite person is somebody you hand over your complete emotional dependency to. I remember I was talking about this in one of the clips that I had recorded, my footage clips. So I talk about having a favorite person, and they're the person that you will normally split on. So you will go from idolizing them, thinking they're the best thing in the world, to just completely hating them and just like, you know, fuck you, being an absolute ass to that person, and then feeling extreme guilt. You will feel extreme guilt afterwards and think, oh my God, what have I done? Why did I say that? So relationships in BPD are an extreme, extreme struggle. Along with that, you also have feelings of emptiness, which is pretty self-explanatory, just feeling like really empty, no motivation. Like, this is me, like, down to a T. It's just I rarely ever feel like any motivation to do anything. I just sit around feeling just so empty inside and thinking, what am I doing? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Why can't I like do anything with myself? Which is something you obviously have to try and work on. But anyway, acting impulsively, irresponsible activities such as binge eating, taking drugs, driving dangerously, or having unprotected sex, for example. So, or obviously like gambling. And I used to engage in like sexual activity that was like dangerous, and thankfully I like didn't like catch anything or anything like that. I used to like not give a shit, and I was very impulsive. But nowadays I don't really do anything that's terribly impulsive. And then you have self-harm / suicidal thoughts and feelings. So people with BPD tend to cope with their extreme intense feelings by self-harming, and that can be done in a number of ways. So obviously I put a trigger warning on this video, so I'm talking about self-harm and suicide right now. And the way that I normally self-harm is I try not to cut myself, because that is seen as the ultimate don't do it, because everyone around you is so heavily affected by that. But when you use other methods of self-harm, for example, I was punching stuff like walls and stuff like that, and like the damage sort of just disappears. But with cutting, there is physical evidence of that on your body, and somebody might notice it and see it. So I tend to try and use self-harm tactics that I know people aren't going to notice, which is, obviously, it's terrible behaviour and it's awful, and I do not suggest anybody do that, but I'm just saying this is what I do as a result of this disorder. And the suicidal thoughts and feelings, that is obviously just wanting to end your life. That is what suicide is killing yourself, because these are so bad and so extreme and like the worst feelings you can possibly imagine in the world. Like, that is, if I could just describe it to anybody, I'd just say, you just feel extreme intense of like the worst feelings you can actually possibly feel. The worst emotional pain you can feel, amplified. That is BPD, basically. It's so much and so overwhelming that just the pain exceeds the coping resources. So then your brain will just go, I can't handle this anymore. I need this to stop. I need the suffering to stop. So that is when people turn to the thoughts of suicide, because like, I cannot handle feeling like this. There is no way I can go through feeling like this any longer. And then obviously you have the intense feelings of anger, which is difficult to control. I've always struggled with anger issues for as long as I can remember, and it can make you act out and say things in the heat of the moment that you don't mean, which can once again cause problems in a relationship sense. Even in friendships, like, you could consider friendships are sort of relationships in their own sense, because it's all relationships you form with people, and it's just really hard to maintain friendships when this is the way that your brain works. And then lastly, you've got paranoia and dissociation. So paranoia sort of ties in with the fear of abandonment. At least it does for me anyway, is that my brain will just create like its own sort of narrative. It will make me extremely paranoid. Oh, this person's is gonna turn around and leave me. They're gonna abandon me. It just keeps like putting these bad thoughts into my head, saying, you've done this and that was bad and that was wrong, and now they're going to leave you because you've said that. And, you know, I will even hold back sometimes because I'm afraid, just like, I get the paranoid feelings. I'm just like, yeah, if you say that, well, they're gone. They're going to turn around and leave you, so don't say it. It's just like having another little sort of niggling voice in your head telling you, oh, everybody hates you, like, you've done this, so now they're not going to like you anymore. And it's all sort of things like that. Dissociation, there are actually a lot of different types of dissociation, so I won't really go too deep into that because I'm already almost 20 minutes into the bloody video and I feel like I'm just rambling. So, but what I wanted to do is just obviously have a big discussion about this. Anyway, but depersonalization and identity issues would be the most active forms of dissociation. So if you want to know more about dissociation, then you can very easily just look that up. But I don't want to go too deep into explaining every little subpoint. Obviously, I want to be in depth, but this is mostly about my experiences, so that's what I'm going to talk about now. Now that I've actually explained all of what BPD is, hopefully you've got quite a good idea now of what the whole thing actually entails. So, like I said, I first noticed that I was displaying it when somebody actually brought it up to me a few years ago. I don't even remember why, actually, but it was a friend at the time, and they told me about it, and then I just honestly had this, like, epiphany in my head. I was like, holy shit. Like, because I have Asperger's syndrome, which is also known as autistic spectrum disorder, I just thought that everything was that. It's just that. It's just the Asperger's. But I realised that, no, it's actually not, because all of that, obviously Asperger's is its own, like, different thing, and I won't go too far into that. But it's not a personality disorder because that's autism, and obviously that does change your brain, like it affects the way that your brain works. But I have this separate personality disorder which has its own sort of rampant things, so I've got both of those mashed together at the same time, which is just honestly pretty fucked up, because autism causes a lot of problems. Obviously that causes more of a problem in my social life, and BPD causes more of a problem in my just life as a complete and utter whole, and obviously relationships. So I've only been in one long-term relationship in my life, and I'm currently in a relationship which I've been in for almost 2 months now. And over the course of my last relationship, which lasted about 5 years, I was an absolute train wreck. And honestly, right now, I am an absolute train wreck, if I could just best describe it to you. So I never noticed, obviously, how toxic my behaviours were in my past relationship, and I would regularly say things like, you know, if you leave me, I'll kill myself, and being so full-on, intense, extreme, but my partner at the time just dealt with it, just put up with it, and never really said to me, you know, like, what the fuck, basically. And my relationship was failing because of a number of different reasons, but I'm not really going to go too far into that. But I know that a lot of the things that I did were very, very toxic behaviours, and that is what it's like with BPD, is just you can recognise that you're being toxic and that you're being bad, but it's like you're just unable to stop. I'm unable to stop myself from doing it. I'm just like, oh no, I'm being bad right now. I know I'm being bad right now, but I just can't stop because I need to get all of this shit out of my head. So I didn't really realise how much of a problem it was in my life. And I did try to get help and stuff like that, and I did try to take pills, but there isn't like any cure for this. Is you can only really sort of, therapy is like your best bet with this, and I never really have had like proper therapy for it. I've only just sort of seen a couple of people here and there, and nothing has helped at all. So I've struggled with suicidal thoughts for a really long time as well with it. And I have actually never attempted suicide, I can say, but I've been literally a pinpoint away from that. The only thing that really stops me when it comes down to it is, what used to stop me is the fact that, you know, the people that love me and care about me, their lives are going to be destroyed because of that. But lately, when I have been getting like that, it's honestly, I looked up the success rates of suicide, and that you are so likely to fail. And I know this sounds like really horrible, like, whoa, like, hold up here. But when I was in that state of mind, I just really wanted to know this, because I was like, I want to know, like, you know, how likely is it that you're going to fail? So the odds are against you, basically, and you're very likely to just end up really hurting yourself, or maybe even, like, disfiguring yourself. So that is kind of what stopped me the last time that I wanted to kill myself, because I was like, well, none of these have got really a high enough success rate, and I would not want to live if I had, like, messed that up, basically. So as fucked up as that sounds, that is my thought process. And I also, like I said, I filmed a goodbye video because I just convinced myself, okay, one way or another, I'm leaving, I'm gone, I'm done. So I filmed the video, but then I ended up just self-harming instead that day. The reason I'm making this video is because I think people that I know are also going to watch this, and I want them to understand what I've been going through for obviously years of my life now. But the past, like, year and a bit, I have been off the rails, like, majority of the time, and most people don't know because I just don't tell them, like, especially like my family, I do not tell them this stuff because I just feel like, okay, that's not going to help, and that's just going to be like, it's just going to make things worse, and I just really don't want to go into it. And obviously I got out of a relationship last year, and that was just soul crushing for me, and it was a long time coming, and it was the 4th time I'd broken up with him, and I finally was able to get away, because I just couldn't break away from that relationship no matter how hard I tried. But then I finally did it. I finally was able to get out, and I moved out on my own, and I just didn't really think about... I sort of did. Before I got into a new relationship, I thought to myself, oh, what if this person can't handle me because of my BPD? Like, what if they just can't handle all of this shit? And I got into a relationship in December, like after I was about to give up looking, because I just couldn't find anything, and I'd been on dates and just nothing had happened. So I got into a relationship, and, you know, everything was going great until I started dropping and, you know, having a bad time with the BPD. And that's when just shit hits the fan entirely for me. And, you know, as I'm filming this video now, like, it's just been, like, really awful, and it's made me feel terrible, because I just have, like, the intense fear constantly, like, he's gonna leave me, he's gonna leave me, he's gonna leave me, because there's been a lot of shit that has happened, and my BPD playing into the equation, and him not really being able to handle it, which, you know, you can't really blame people for, you know, being so shocked of how fucking insane this personality disorder actually is. And it has made things such a struggle for my relationship, and it's been on, like, thin ice because of it. And there's just been, like, a few times where I thought, oh my god, he's actually genuinely gonna leave me, and then my whole life is gonna be over, because that is my whole life, and he is my favorite person, he is up on that pedestal. So I've been just really, I am really hard to handle. Like, whether anybody, like, wants to say that or not, I am a really hard person to be around sometimes, and I know that, and I beat myself up for it, and I kick myself, and I just always feel like I'm a burden to people, so I don't want to tell people my problems and what's going on until it's gotten really, really bad, until it's out of control at that point, so then it just becomes a complete clusterfuck for anybody involved. And it's just a lot to put on a person, like, projecting all of my feelings onto somebody. It's a lot to deal with and a lot to handle, so people have to decide whether they actually can be with somebody with BPD, because it's just a fucking evil and awful thing to deal with. And I'm struggling to even think of things to say right now, honestly, because I don't have a complete narrative for this part of the video. But obviously I'm just talking about my own experience with it and how it is affecting my current relationship. I'm just gonna say that it has almost fucked up my entire life. Well, it pretty much has, like, fucked up my entire life, but I'm really lucky that that obviously my current FP, partner, boyfriend, wants to be with me, because he could have easily walked away, and anyone could, and I don't really have any friends, because, like, I'm a terrible friend, and I don't keep up with people, and I don't want to burden people, and that's just how it feels. Like, I just feel like I'm a burden to everyone, and every time I get in a bad mood and I get bad, I'm just like, oh my god, like, I don't want anyone to see this, because this is fucking awful, and I'm probably just better at coping with it myself than trying to make somebody else cope with it. So that is just really my thoughts and my experience with it, and I'm gonna show you some of the footage now. I'm sorry this video is, like, extremely long, but I'm just gonna show you some of the footage now. Oh my god, everyone, just fucking leave me alone. get it, this is what it looks like. I'm coming down from a very from bad feelings where I lose my mind. And it's my birthday today. Yeah, today's my birthday, and it happens to me all of the time, actually, on like days that are supposed to be good, days that are supposed to be special. Every time I have a day that's supposed to be good, supposed to be special, every time it goes wrong. And like, it's just like, it's destined to go wrong. Like, something just happens, something breaks, something snaps, and then so do I. And then it's just like, oh yay, my good day's ruined. Like my Christmas was bad. And it's my birthday today, so my birthday is not very good right now because I'm in my bed and in the dark, and you can see there's a flash on my phone, so that's the only reason you can see me, because it's dark in here and I was under the covers. And I don't know what to do, because I don't know, I'm better off on my own, I guess, because it happens with everyone. Nobody can deal with this. I don't blame them. I can't blame them. You can't blame anybody for not wanting to deal with this. I'd rather not tell anyone. It's very tiring. My eyes, they really get hurt. They really sting. My heart feels very, very heavy, and it feels like somebody's like sat on my chest. Wow, that light is weird. It's like 4 little sections of like little circles in there. Well, yeah, I need to go. Goodbye. Okay, so I don't think that anyone is even ever gonna see this, but in case they do, this is me when I'm going through a bad mental health episode, and I've been going through this for like 2 weeks now, like 2 weeks of this, and it normally doesn't last that long. Like normally when I have like episodes, they maybe last like a few days or a week, but this has been kind of continuous. It's been like slightly on and off. Like I might have had like an okay day like here and there, but for the most part it's been pure unadulterated hell. Right now my body is just not functioning properly how it should be. Like I don't even know how I actually even feel, and my digestive system, it feels really fucked up right now, because this always happens when I get like anxiety and stuff that kicks in. Obviously the main problem is borderline personality disorder. I need to just oh fucking hell. Oh right, right, I'm sorry, I had to just reply to something real quick, and this is on my phone, so whoa there. So borderline personality disorder, it means that basically my life is a living hell sometimes. It isn't always, because when I'm like not going through like a bad episode of it, I can generally feel quite okay with my life and stuff. And like sorry, I'm having trouble like collecting my thoughts, because the problem is just there is so many things going on in my brain right now that it's hard to just try and like pick out words to try to say things. So basically what it is, if you don't know, I don't even know who's, it's probably just going to be me watching this anyway, so, but in case it's not, anyway, you have very intense relationships and unstable relationships as a result of it, because of the way that you will act, because of the way that I act and react to things. It means that causes problems in a relationship, and it can cause arguments and explosions and everything, and that can really, like, they can just have a real negative effect on relationships, you know, like and basically, and I never really talk about this or like any of that shit, because people just like, I don't know, but the problem is that I'm having a really bad time right now, and there's obviously more stuff to do with it, like, for example, suicidal thoughts, self-harming behaviours, extreme depression, anxiety or irritability, and yeah, this can happen for just no reason. It doesn't even have to be triggered for me. Like, yes, I have triggers, definitely 100%, and if I do get triggered by something, it's gonna take me a while to calm down from that. I will, like, for example, I didn't know like what the fuck was like going on with me. I just thought like everything was separate, because I have autism, Asperger's syndrome, and then I just thought, oh, some of the emotional stuff is tied in with that, but BPD is a separate thing, and actually sometimes they go hand in hand, funnily enough. And I've always had like some bad anger problems, which also is a part of BPD, by the way, which I didn't actually realise. Extreme anger and outbursts, like, I have the stuff here, followed by feelings of extreme guilt and remorse. Every time I come back and read about it, because I've read a lot about it anyway, but every time I come back and read about it, I'm like, okay, like, this shit's calling me out right here. Like, that is me to an absolute T. And it's fucking awful and painful, and the relationship I'm in at the moment is suffering as a result of my BPD, because I am so fucking intense and I am so full on, and I just go like 100 miles an hour, like, with everything, and I'm just so fucking, when also you have this thing called an FP. An FP is a favourite person. That person you assign everything to. You assign your emotional dependence to this person. They can say one thing to you and that can make or break your entire day. That, like, my boyfriend could say one thing to me, I am absolute in fucking turmoil. Everything will be bad. It will be the end of the world. Basically, when something happens that's like bad or something like that, or like I get upset or I get triggered, it's the end of the world. Every fucking time, it's the end of the world. In my brain, everything's come crashing down. Everything's wrong. It's over. My FP is going to abandon me. And that's it. You have the, this is obviously one of the biggest parts of it, which I didn't mention, but the intense fear of abandonment. the fear that the person that you love the most and you care about the most is going to walk away and leave you, and you'll be nothing without them, and you will lose everything. Like, your whole world will come crashing down without that person. And it's fucking terrifying to live like that, because I live with the fear inside my brain every single day that my favourite person is going to walk away from me and abandon me and leave me, and there's nothing I can do about it, and they're going to leave me and it's going to be over. My whole world and my whole life is done and over, and I cannot live without them. To live with something that intense in my brain, I don't know what to do, because my life does not exist without that person. It will always be my partner, because in my past relationship I was with the person for like 5 years, and they were that almost from the very beginning. This is how it always goes with me. It happens almost from the very beginning. I immediately set that attachment. They basically almost immediately become my FP, and my life doesn't exist without that person anymore. Once I've assigned that, once I'm invested, I can no longer live my life without that person being there. And that is just so fucking insane. So some people with BPD think we're better off not being in relationships because we can't handle the fear of abandonment. And even if we're like imagining it, even if it's not really even close to happening, we're still thinking, oh well, what if this can happen and this can happen and this can happen, and then they're going to walk away from me, then they're going to leave me because of this, and they're going to leave me because of that, and they're going to leave me because of this. And you just can't seem to like just fucking relax. Like, I can never relax. My mind is always going and going and going and having the paranoid thoughts, and that's what happens. And honestly, for like the past few days, self-harming behaviours have returned because I don't know how to cope with this. My hand, it looks perfectly fine, doesn't it? It actually looks perfectly fine. It's like, it's healed. It's already healed. I was punching a lot of things to try and help deal with like the feelings, and my hand was like very badly bruised, and literally like a day or two later it's gone. My hand was red and swollen, and it like was kind of bruised, but now it's fine. But I just hope that if people are watching this, you can see why I can't function as a human being when I'm going through this, and I just don't know what to do anymore, and I'm beating myself up. I'm beating myself up every single day that I don't do something productive. I beat myself up and think, you're actually the worst, you're a piece of shit, why can't you just do this? Why can't you just do it? I don't get why I can't just do it. It's really getting on my nerves. Like, I get on my own nerves. Like, I annoy myself. I'm a fucking stupid person. I can't stick to anything. I just don't know how I'm actually gonna ever like make it in the world. Like, I'm dying here. Like, this is killing me. This disease in my mind is killing me, and it does kill people. And yeah, like, yeah, depression kills people. Like, depression is different to this, because believe me, I got misdiagnosed with depression and anxiety for this. But then I realised, oh fuck, I don't have depression and anxiety, when I did research, and then I went to the psychiatrist, and then bam, BPD in your fucking face, like, hello, there's nothing you can do about this except for really getting kind of like therapy, but the therapy system in this country is pretty garbage. I've tried to get help and they never really actually like do anything, and I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't even know who I am or who I want to be, who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do in my life, how I'm supposed to get by, how I'm supposed to get through. I've just been winging it. I wing it. I just wing my life like completely and utterly, and then then there's just so much pressure on me because I'm like, oh god, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because I don't plan things or do things in advance, and I'm very much a planning person and do things in advance person, but then I don't, and then I just can't keep to like any kind of schedule in my life, and it's just an absolute fucking train wreck mess. But yeah, that's pretty much what I gotta say.
This is a message to everyone who cares about me. I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I just can't. I can't do this anymore. I can't be alive anymore. I'm sorry, I've tried so hard. And I thought that I was getting better, but I'm just... I thought that I was getting better. I'm trying so hard, but it just feels like nothing's working. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to see me like this, but I have to go. I have to, because I can't go on like this anymore. I'm trying to live my life, I'm trying to exist, I'm trying to, but nothing works. And I'm in so much pain every single day, and even when I think that it's gone, it's not. I'm sorry.
Alright, I'm so tired of this. I'm so fucking tired of it. I'm just so tired of just having my emotions completely controlled by something else. Like, I can't be in control. Like, I'm so sick of just having everything dictated by this one thing and just being in fucking limbo, not knowing what's going on, and just every time I'm faced with the danger of somebody abandoning me, just absolutely losing my mind. I'm just losing my mind right now. I went from feeling about fucking half an hour ago, I felt numb, I felt nothing, I just couldn't feel anything, and I was just like, okay, well this is chill because I'd rather not be able to feel anything than feel this. Yeah, I may not be able to, like, feel enjoyment out of things or whatever. I may not be able to, like, really, like, do much with myself. But then it's better than this being an utter fucking, like, just, I don't know what's going on. And I just, my head, I can't take any more of this. I thought that yesterday I expelled everything, like all my emotions. I cried so much and I just can't do it anymore. And my head, like the headaches that I get, my eyes, like I was just honestly, it felt like I was on drugs today because I'd been crying so much last night that my eyes were just fucked and I just felt so dopey and out of it. But yet I still had to fucking like go on with my day. And then I'm just like, you know, I just go from, you know what I mean? I go from just feeling like numb, just like not feeling anything, like I'm just so exhausted, so emotionally drained, exhausted. I'm like, oh, there's no way I can cry again today. There's no way I could have another mental breakdown today. I don't have the energy. Oh, hey, what's that right now? What's that in my brain? And I just tell myself if I just ignore this and try to pretend like I don't have, like, these problems, these issues in my brain, I'm just like, oh, well, what if I just try to ignore it? What if I just try to pretend like I don't have, like, this fucking illness, disease, whatever? What if I just pretended it wasn't there? What if I just fake it till I make it, whatever? I'm just like, that fucking hasn't worked. So, because that probably nobody would, like, give a shit then, would they? Like, you wouldn't struggle then, would you, if you could just ignore it and just pretend like it wasn't there? I mean, maybe you could for a period of time, but it's always gonna be there, like, lingering, and it's gonna fuck you up no matter what you do. It's so fucking bad. So bad. I just don't know what to do. I've always been so fucking... I've tried, and I try. I just try to live my life every day. I just try to exist every day. That's all I try to do. And there's just so much that just makes me want to stop existing. There is just so much that just makes me want to just fucking give up, because I can't deal
with these emotions, no matter what. Nobody can help me. Nothing helps me. Nothing saves me. I just have to keep going through it again and again and again. I'm being put through hell, put through the fucking ring, and no matter what I do, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just gonna keep going through and just getting kicked and kicked and kicked and kicked, like, when I'm down.
So there you have it. That is what the ugly reality of this is. The ugly reality of BPD that people may think in theory that they would be able to handle and deal with, but when actually faced with the reality of it, like, and people just saying, like, people that maybe fake stuff for attention, I know that that is, like, really a minority of people, because they think, oh, you know, it's you know, good to be broken and have people care about you and have people give you the sympathy and the attention, but that is the complete, like, opposite of what the actual reality of it is. The reality of it is, oh my god, I am pushing people away and I'm being distant, and I really don't want to be, because I'm too scared to, like, tell them how bad I am. And that is just how I am. I'm just like, I'm so terrified, because I'm just like, okay, well, they can't handle it and they're going to walk away and they're going to leave me, and just all of the paranoid thoughts that I get. And just when I feel normal, as I do now, like, I'm feeling pretty normal right now, so I'm not experiencing, like, anything bad. I'm just like, you know, life is fine, I can do this. But as soon as I get into those ways, everything is bad and everything is wrong. And I've just said a lot of horrible things that I don't mean, and it's just completely soul-crushing to deal with. And, you know, my heart goes out to anybody going through this as well, because I know how bad it is. I really do. And I did try my best with this video, but my brain is just, it's not even working to its full capacity, honestly, because I've been through so much shit in the past couple of weeks with this that I can barely think straight. I could barely even function as a human. I don't even know how I am functioning as a human, because there's just been so much happening that it was almost all over for me. And I'm actually just happy to be sitting here and saying, I'm still here, I'm still trying, like, I'm still existing. And I'm just really sorry to anybody, like, that I ever hurt as a result of this. So even, obviously, my ex, I was shitty to him in that relationship. I was. Like, people, generally, they'll be shitty to each other sometimes, but I have been an awful person sometimes, and I've said things in the heat of the moment, and I've said things when I've felt the extreme, intense anger, and I'm sorry to anyone that I've hurt, because it's not me. Honestly, it feels like sometimes somebody just takes over my brain. It's like something overrides my brain and it tells me what to do. It tells me, you're gonna lay down on the floor right now. You are gonna not talk. That's another thing that happens, is just I go non-verbal and I can't talk. So if somebody is with me at the time, they're just like, yo, you know, talk to me, tell me what's going on, but my brain's like, don't you dare talk, don't you dare. It's like this voice telling me, you have to do this, you have to do that, listen to me, I'm going to tell you how to act here. And it's not the real me. It isn't who I am as a person. Even though I don't have a strong sense of who I actually am, I at least know that I am a really caring and empathetic person, and I really try to put myself in other people's shoes, and I really feel for other people, and I'm really, like, understanding and accepting of people, because I know, like, how people experience a lot of different difficulties in their lives, and just everybody's going through their own struggle and shit sometimes. So I'm just really understanding about that. because I experience so much shit myself, it makes me so like caring and feeling for other people. So I know that I have that and I have a good moral compass, but just sometimes the dark side of me almost will just take over, and then that's obviously the times that it tells me to do bad things like self-harm and all of that. It's just like, you have to do this right now, you must do this right now. And I cry myself sick. I get extreme headaches from when I cry, and then the next day it can actually be like I'm on drugs. Like I said in like one of the videos I showed you, it felt like I was just really dopey on drugs or something after it, and it's just really, really bad, honestly. And basically BPD is just like having such thin skin. Just one little thing can set you off, one little thing can trigger you. And I'm trying to think of anything that I've missed out talking about. It's kind of stressful for me to talk about this, honestly, because I'm just not obviously going through the best time right now. Like I am on the up now, but I was in such a fucking black hole. Just everything was bad. I was acting out, and then I felt guilty because I was acting out, and then just all of these feelings pile up on top of each other until I just explode and can't take anymore. And I have a lot of irrational anger. So I am lucky that I can even be in a relationship, because people with BPD, I just feel like we are fucking doomed. I honestly still feel like I'm doomed. I still feel like my relationship's not gonna last. It's gonna end. It's gonna break because of this. And I'm just so pessimistic about it. I am so pessimistic about the whole thing, because I'm like, wow, my life is actually doomed because there's nothing I can do about this. Like, getting help is difficult for this type of disorder as well, because it's very stigmatized. So it's a struggle, but it's just what I have to live with. And hopefully you've learnt from this video a lot about BPD and really understanding it properly. I hope I've explained it well enough. I know I've rambled a lot about shit, but that's just kind of what I do. And yeah, this was just trying to think out everything. I've sort of overwhelmed my brain. But anyway, I am gonna end the video here now. So thanks for listening to me. Thanks for watching this. I don't know when I'll upload another video, because I'm not frequent on this channel at all, but it's just like when I really want to make something, I'll do it. But most of the time, I just don't really want to do stuff. So anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. See you guys again soon.